Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some PathOfExile discussion. Grinding Gear Games today gave us the first information about patch 3.20, so some information on one of the key features that's coming in the league, and also some information about when it's going to be landing and what's going to be happening in the interim. Let's go through it. This is the official announcement, and I will put a link down in the description below. So, firstly, there is an announcement of a delay. We've been looking at our upcoming schedule for the next year, and we've decided to move 3.20 expansion launch date back from late November to early December. Now, I think there's three reasons for this. One of these is stated in this post. The second one is competition with World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is still somewhat of a titan of the gaming industry, certainly not as big as it's been in the past. And whilst I think there's a lot of people who will never trust Blizzard again, especially after Diablo Immortal, there will be a number of people who will go back and check out what it's like now. And I think that GGG have done a pretty clever thing here in setting up the league to be 2 or 3 weeks after that expansion launches. That gives people plenty of time to go back, be disappointed by Blizzard again, and then come back to PathOfExile. I expect we'll see a lot of people who do that, and then that will be one of the factors in why this expansion launch has been delayed. The second one is that 3.19 was a bit of a mess, and I think that GGG probably spent a bunch of development time that had been intended to be used on 3.20, instead trying to salvage something out of 3.19, and as a result, I expect they're probably a little bit behind on 3.20. That'd be the second reason. But then there's the third reason, which is exactly as they state. This date works a lot better for alignment with the holiday period. Previous December launches have shown that launches roughly 2 weeks before Christmas allow players the most free time to play the league during the holiday season. In addition, this date is well clear of any holiday time that our developers are taking. The wording, roughly 2 weeks before Christmas, the most likely candidate launch date is going to be Friday the 8th of December or Saturday the 9th of December, depending on where in the world you are. Quick note during editing, actually Friday the 9th or Saturday the 10th. But I can't rule out that it could be a week earlier or a week later because they do use the word roughly here. We have a busy schedule of releases leading up to POE 2, so we'll be using this extra time to get a head start on 3.21. Now, because of this delay, there are going to be a number of end-of-league events. Those of you that played last year this time will remember that Scourge League was also not that popular a league, and during that period, GGG announced a number of end-of-league events as something a little bit different that you could play around with while you were waiting for the next expansion. These included the very successful Endless Delve event, the very unsuccessful Endless Heist event and Delirium Everywhere event, and a couple that were in between, Atlas Invasion and something else that I can't remember. These events were moderately successful. I think players should go into this with an expectation that not every single one of these events is going to be fun for them, and hopefully GGG can manage to nail it so that there's very different types of events that are running. There's more details on these coming out soon, and the 4th of November is when the first one will start. Now that's American time, so 5th of November if, like me, you're over in Australia. There'll be a number of prizes available for top racers and for regular players alike, and one thing I'd really like to see GGG do with this is have an open division, which anyone can participate in, and then a more restricted division, which only people who don't have certain achievements can go into. So perhaps you could have a division that is restricted only to people who have never killed Cirrus before on their account. And then those people could compete to beat Cirrus for the first time, whereas those of us with more experience with the game might be competing for harder goals like defeating the Uber Cortex. But these events will be similar to ones we've run in the past, with a few tweaks and updates. Keep an eye on the news for more info. Next, there's some discussion of balanced manifestos. Now, this section of the post has got Reddit into a frenzy. Doomsayers and the like are out in force. Let's go through what it actually says. So in the lead up to the 3.20 expansion, we'll be sharing a series of balanced manifestos. Typically, we share one manifesto that covers as much of the balance changes as possible without spoiling the announcement live stream. This time around, we'll be sharing more topics in advance than usual, even if some of them reveal portions of the live stream, in the interest of trying to provide better communication and transparency. We're also planning to break these down into individual topics to be shared one at a time to better facilitate feedback and discussion. For clarity, us signaling this early is not meant to set an expectation of many and/or severe balance changes, just simply that this information is coming early and will be shared across several posts. So essentially, instead of one massive balance manifesto that deliberately misses things like the Divine Exalt swap, we would then have 6 or 7 balance manifestos that would all be about different sections of the game, and things like the Divine Exalt swap would be included in them. I think that this is an improvement over the status quo, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's done. I do, however, expect that because of the scope of this, there'll probably be a couple of things that get unintentionally missed. We'll see exactly how that works out in practice. Next, we have the major feature announcement for 3.20, and that is hard mode, which has now got a name, and I've got to say I don't like this name very much, and that is Ruthless. So, Ruthless is an additional character creation flag alongside Hardcore and Solo Self-Found that allows you to opt into extreme item scarcity and various other changes. In early November, we're planning to announce full info about what Ruthless involves, and we'll kick off its alpha testing phase. We expect to release the mode to all players alongside 3.20. For clarity, this is entirely supplementary to the 3.20 expansion and doesn't affect the scope of the new league and the features we'll be announcing in our live stream. Now, I would say that Ruthless is one of those things that is perfect in catering to maybe 10% of the player base. Much like Solo Self-Found, much like Hardcore. These are settings that most players will have more fun if they don't opt into, but for some players, and definitely for me, Ruthless is perfect. The reason I don't really like Hardcore as a game mode is that it encourages you to become more and more careful as you progress further into the game. And the reason I don't like Solo Self-Found is that I like interacting randomly with other players. Both make the game harder, but not in ways that I find fun. Ruthless, if it's done well, and I'm kind of really hoping it is, will extend the fun part of the league for me. The fun part of the league for me is when I'm still somewhat regularly failing content. That's something I'm really looking forward to experimenting with. I expect that there'll probably be some significant flaws with this when it comes out. Things that will have to get ironed out over time. It may be that the item starvation is too extreme. It may be that there's certain things that are too powerful still. It may be that there's a number of things that end up being really dominant. One thing that I think we should really watch for with Ruthless is that the nature of this setting, for at least from what we know about it so far, is a significant nerf to attack-based builds because they're more dependent upon itemization than spell-based builds are. I really hope GGG have thought about this and have balanced accordingly. The simple thing that I would suggest is whatever factor you're trying to throttle item generation down by, maybe you're going 90% worse items in some way, you should also nerf gem XP by the same amount. Otherwise, we're going to end up in a situation where everyone is playing spellcasters. It'll be even worse than a 4-day event like Badger Private League in that regard. That said, I'm looking forward to Ruthless, and the main reason is that I have more fun when I'm failing content than when I'm stomping it, and this will extend the period of the game where failing content comes up a lot. So as the name implies, Ruthless is a quite different experience to regular PoE and is designed for a specific type of player. We don't expect it to appeal to everyone, but if you're interested, you'll be able to sign up for the alpha test in November, and you may be invited in one of the waves of players that we seek feedback from prior to its official launch. Note that the Ruthless alpha test will be the current version of 3.19, not the upcoming 3.20, which will have its own alpha test on the regular alpha server. Please don't directly request access to either alpha test, as we can't add people that way. And then the final part of the announcement is just that there is the usual annual rotation of core supporter packs. So the Incinerator series of packs are going to be going away, and they'll be replaced by something else that's probably at least as good. Anyway, that's what is coming up in the next little while. May your Valobs have interesting results, and definitely post your thoughts in the comments down below.